You forever have faith in something. Have you ever considered, though, where you're actually placing it? What are your behaviors telling you about the faith that you have? Is it in that your life is never going to get better and that things just keep not going your way? Or is your faith in the fact that you have control to actually make a life that you truly love? That you are able to direct your attention to this life that you want to lead? That's what we're going to talk about today. Happy Wednesday and welcome to Unleashing Happiness. I am your host, Cecilia Hendricks, and today we're going to jump into talking about faith and belief and actually becoming this person that you want to be and how you can incorporate that into your day-to-day life instead of only doing it in kind of sections of your life. Sections of your day. I actually spoke about this on my Monday episode 2, which was for mindset motivation. And what I spoke about there was talking about Richard Dodd's book, The 955 Code. And essentially what Richard teaches is that we have these techniques when you're trying to change your life, especially if you're using something like a law of attraction, law of assumption, positive mindset, any of these kind of techniques that you're working on focusing on a technique at a specific time of day to make changes to your life. And what ends up happening is that you may focus on using a technique at a specific time of day, right? Like for 10 minutes in the morning, I'm going to do a meditation where I visualize my dream life. And then right before I go to bed, I'm going to do some affirmations before I fall asleep. But during the day, I'm going to continue to worry or to have high stressful moments or moments that are not aligned with the life that I want, moments that are in opposition, feelings that are in opposition of the life that I want to lead, and behaviors and habits that are in direct opposition of the type of person that I want to be. But I'm going to kind of bookend this with these techniques and hope that it all works out so that I can have this ideal outcome eventually in my future. Instead, what we're going to talk about today, and something that I hope that I am talking about and helping make a little bit more clear as we continue through the podcast and additional content that I put out, is that you really want to start becoming that person overall. So this isn't necessarily a technique that you're doing. It's actually truly a way of life. You are becoming the healthiest version of yourself. You are becoming this person who is truly loved. You are becoming the person who has the type of career or the type of college or learnings or whatever it is that you want. You are that person. You have those things in your life. And when you are that person, you would believe that 24 hours a day. You would be that person, have those habits, have those actions, and be in that state repeatedly throughout the day. You wouldn't only visit that in the morning or in the evening, or you wouldn't only visit these techniques when you are stressed out and something isn't going your way. It would become naturally just part of who you are. And so today I really want to get into how you can start to become that person and give some kind of tips and tricks of things that you can do to incorporate this more into your overall life and actually being the person that you want to be versus only focusing on it when you have like a technique that comes up that you want to kind of work on or in meditation. And I want to caveat that I completely fell into this, right? Like I wanted a future event. I wanted to do something now so that in the future I could feel a certain way. I wanted to do something now so that hopefully in the future an external event would come along and give me that feeling. And I've realized throughout the years as I've worked on this and I've worked on myself, it doesn't necessarily work that way. It actually starts within my feelings. My internal state is going to shift before I see anything happen externally. I've given that feeling to me. And it's also because you can get something like an thing like a car or a house or an amount of money or even a person and a loved one, you could get this thing and still not have those feelings that you were seeking because you're not generating them within. You're not focusing on yourself and your own concept of worth, the way that you view yourself, the way that you love yourself, the way that you think of yourself. Even if you want to take this like love yourself and self-love out of it, you still have a self-concept. You still have a way that you see yourself. You still have things that you believe true of your life and the world that's around you and the things that happen to you. You still have a view of yourself based on the internal feelings that you have. and what you believe is true. So it all comes down to your core identity. What do you believe true of yourself, and what do you hold close? If you think about yourself as like a ball in the center, and that is you, right? And this is from the book by Sean Webb, Mind Hacking Happiness. He talks about a me map, right? And so at the center of this is you, and you have yourself. And the things that are the closest to yourself are the ones that you're going to feel the greatest about. So if those were threatened, you're definitely going to react. You're going to feel something about it. That could be like an identity of being a parent. It could be identity of being someone who's empathetic. It could also be an identity of the career that you hold. A lot of people identify their self-worth with their job and how they're doing in their career. It could be the religion that you have. Your faith can definitely be very near and dear. It can be your political stance. It really can be anything. And you can start to map this out. If you check out his book, Mind Hacking Happiness, or any of his content online, which is also under Mind Hacking Happiness, Sean Webb, you can find ways to start identifying the things that you hold close. And then you can start to choose, do I really want to hold these as close as I do? So one might be like your political stance. Maybe you do get really worked up having any kind of conversation with anybody about a political standing. And you can start to identify why. Why is this affecting me? Why is this creating this type of reaction that I no longer want to have? And how can I make that a little bit further away from my core self-identity, where it's still important to me? I'm still going to hold it near and dear, but it's also now something that's not going to trigger me to the point that I feel that my identity, my concept of self is being attacked if someone doesn't agree with my own political beliefs. And that can be a huge step in starting to change the identity that you hold. And one of those could be very true of, let's say that you have kind of affirmed to yourself through your words plus your actions that you're lazy and you procrastinate. Okay, so what is something there? If you hold that dear to you, whether you realize it or not, if you continue to affirm it to yourself through your actions, through the way you talk about yourself and to yourself, then that is something that's close to you. That has become part of your identity. And so how can you change that? And I know a lot of folks use like affirmations, and I think affirmations are great. I talk to myself all throughout the day. Like I definitely have an internal dialogue that is essentially running all throughout the day. And I have conversations with other people in my head, and I think about what I need to get at the grocery store and what kind of content I want to make and what do I have on my to-do list at work. And I do have affirmations within there. I like talking nice to myself, but I've also paired that with the way that I talk about myself and the actions that I do throughout the day. And so we've talked a little bit actually about like Neville Goddard's and inaction versus action. I talked about this more, I think, on my YouTube channel. But Neville Goddard, if you're a follower of Neville Goddard, he says you don't have to lift a finger. Once you change your internal state, you've made this impression on yourself that this is who you are, this is the type of life that you're leading, this is a thing that you have, you don't have to lift a finger. I see this a little differently than some of the community does. So a lot of the community says you could essentially sit on your couch and continue to do whatever you want to do and worry and fret and talk poorly to yourself and do all of these things and still get whatever you want. And I'm just here to share that has not been my experience, and folks that I've spoken to, especially since launching this and talking to like more people or even in the Reddit community, that has not been the experience that I've seen. Most of the folks that are doing this, that have reached out to me, that are like, well, I'm trying not to lift a finger, I'm trying to do nothing, but I'm continuing this cycle of feeling good and then not feeling good, and feeling good and not feeling good, and I'm still not getting anywhere, right? Like you're on a hamster wheel, you're staying in the same place, you're not actually getting the thing that you want, you're not getting the life that you want, nor are you even feeling better about the life that you're currently in, because you're just stuck. Like you're in this position and you're stuck. And what I'm saying is it's not necessarily not lifting a finger as in you do absolutely nothing to work on yourself, that you don't start to change your own concept of how you see yourself, the way that you treat yourself, the way that you talk to yourself, the inner conversations that you're continuing to have, and just the way that you're behaving during the day, because you don't want to behave in opposition of this life that you want to have. That's one of the big keys here, better. You don't want to keep shifting your state right back to what you had before. You don't want to continue the same identity, not the same identity as what you're trying to change. You don't want to continue to reaffirm that to yourself. So when you use affirmations, you can actually start to take actions that are aligned with that affirmation. So if one of them is that you want to stop procrastinating and you want to become someone who gets stuff done and doesn't put it off and is getting up and is treating themselves well and is doing the things that they say they're going to, then you can actually set up a process within your own life to start to align to that affirmation. So in other words, you're starting to become that person. You're confirming to yourself that those are the things that you're going to do. So if you have an affirmation, what are you doing to align to that? And if you have a desired outcome, like let's say that you're trying to find a relationship and you would really like to be in a really healthy, loving relationship, and that's something you're working on. And so every day you're telling yourself, I am loved, I am desired, I am beautiful. Well, what ways during the day are you actually treating yourself that you believe that? Are you putting yourself down when you get dressed? Are you being really mean to yourself about your body and the way that you look in your clothing? Are you being unkind to yourself by even taking care of yourself, like taking care of your physical body? And that's up to you. The way that you see taking care of your physical body, that's your choice on how in your mind that works. Like for me, it's, showering and making sure that my hair looks nice and doing my skincare. Like those are things that make me feel like I love me and I'm showing up for myself. That's me filling my cup and taking care of myself. That's how I fill my cup. That's how I show myself consciously that I love myself, that I am desired, that I feel attractive, that I feel beautiful, that I have great hair. These are all things that I do that are aligned to this affirmation that I have created that says I am desired and I am beautiful. And I'll give another example that let's say that your affirmation is that you are wealthy and that you are more than capable to pay your bills and you don't have to stress about paying your bills. If I have that affirmation, I would look at myself as, okay, if I have all of this money and I'm not concerned and I can pay my bills plus more and do travel and do the things that I want to do in the world, how would I show up each day? Well, I would not wake up stressed out. I would not spend my day fretting over bills. I would not spend my day concerned and kind of putting myself down and having inner conversations about bill collectors. Those are not the things that I would do. For me, I would actually take care of myself. That's what I do now. I enjoy my life. I go out and I do my daily joys. I take care of my body. I get the things at the grocery store that I want. There are small little things that confirm to me that we are in the financial state that I want to be in. And I just continue to do those each day. And now for myself, it's become just naturally part of who I am. And there's a faith that everything's always going to work out because I've built that faith by telling myself that and then also confirming it to myself. I look for the small wins that show me everything is going to work out. I look for the small things that tell me that no matter what, if it's not okay, it's not the end. That I just keep going and I have faith that everything is going to end up in the way that it needs to and it's going to work out for me and it's all going to just fall into perfect place and I'm going to end up in the best position for me. And I have yet to see that not happen. And I want to take a moment here to talk about limiting beliefs because that's something that you hear a lot too, right? Is that you have these limiting beliefs. And I want to take a little bit of a sidestep to talk about limiting beliefs. So within the community or people talking about changing your life, you hear often about the fact that you may have limiting beliefs and that you should shed these. And I want to give my take on this. And this may be something that folks find a little bit controversial or they completely disagree with. And I'm just sharing my experience with limiting beliefs and the way that I see them. To me, there are some that I'm not going to get rid of, and they may be a limiting belief, but I don't have the desire to focus on those the way that I would want to focus on something else. And I'll give an example. I'm in my 40s. I want to take care of my body. I want to be the healthiest version of me. I want to feel good. I want to look good. I want to keep my mobility. I just want my body to feel good. Like I'm in this physical body. I want it to work for me as best as possible for as long as possible. So I definitely focus on making sure that I am the healthiest version of myself. Now, for me, what some might consider a limiting belief is I believe in order to do that, I need to physically move my physical body. I need to eat whole, fresh foods. I need to stay away from some of the processed foods because that's what makes me feel my best version. And I know that folks will say, well, that's a limiting belief. You could just change your belief about the foods. And I actually don't disagree, but I don't think that's one I'm going to change, nor do I want to put the energy into attempting to change it. Instead, my desire lies with taking care of myself in these ways: eating well, moving my body, doing regular exercise, stretching, working on like mobility, etc. I want to do those kind of things. That's where my desire lies, and I kind of listen to my intuition that tells me what I should focus on and what I shouldn't. Now, if you're looking to get wealth and you are kind of stuck in a state of poverty and you feel like money is the root of all evil, that is actually a limiting belief that I would recommend you work on. You don't want to prevent yourself from your own wealth because you're worried it's going to be the root of all evil and it's going to ruin your life. And I actually think I found it very freeing when I let go of this being concerned about quote unquote limiting beliefs or if I was holding myself back. And instead, I just started focusing on the things that felt right to me and the things that my intuition were telling me that this is where I can focus and where I want to focus, because I truly don't have a desire to focus on having an ideal body that I don't really work out for. I enjoy moving my body. It feels good to me. And so I'm going to continue doing that. I'm not going to focus on the other side of it. So I wanted to put that out there because I think it's important to, one, give yourself some forgiveness if you have a limiting belief. I have many others that I am fully aware of, even when it comes to creating content or sharing out, these belief systems and this information for folks. I still have things that I think are holding me back in this, and I'm fully aware of them. And that doesn't mean that I'm not actively working on myself to kind of change those and how I feel and how I view myself. But I also realize that they're there, and I'm just not upset with myself about it. I'm going to keep showing up for myself each and every day and not really let those affect me. And that has been probably one of my greatest successes in this whole process is the release of all of this like self-doubt and being upset with myself for my behaviors or for the things that I'm doing or the way that I'm feeling. And I just see it much more differently now, and I'm much more calm just throughout my entire life because of it. Now, I want to make sure that I'm being clear on what I'm asking everybody to do today. So there's a couple things, and I've talked about them. One, start to consider what you hold towards your identity. Are there things that you would like to release? And then you can tie those to what we just talked about with limiting beliefs. Do you have a belief around that identity that is no longer serving you that you would like to work on? Or are there some that you're just going to accept that those are how they are and that's just who you are, and you don't have a desire to work on changing that belief? And knowing that can be very freeing within itself. Then the second part is to start to identify the affirmations that you want to tell yourself, whether you consider them affirmations or just inner dialogue or just the way that you think and talk to yourself or about yourself. Start to pay attention to the way you talk about yourself as well. Like, for example, I remember at work, I used to say over and over that I just wasn't very good at something, that it wasn't my strong suit. And I was like, wait a minute, why am I doing this? I actually have gotten really good at this. I am able to do this. I do understand it. I have been able to follow. So stop talking about myself like that. And so instead, I, started talking about how I had learned it and how I can really learn anything. And that was shifting a belief that I had. And the reason that that belief shifted is because I had to show up and do this thing at work, whether I wanted to or not. It was part of something I needed to do. And it was really good for me because it was this movement within my life of realizing like, no, you can learn how to do this. You're not just naturally bad at something. You just haven't practiced it enough. And so I kept showing up and having to do it over and over. And the more that I did it and I kept showing up, and the more that I was like, oh no, I'm getting this. This is not that difficult. I'm actually able to learn this just fine, the more I confirmed it to myself. And then I wanted to change my external conversation that I was having about myself to match that internal feeling, so I wasn't kind of in conflict. And I realized that as soon as I started shifting the way that I talked about it and the way I talked about myself, I actually got better at that activity. I got better at the way that I understood it and the way that it was coming together for me. So I think doing that match had kind of released some of that leftover feeling of not being very good at the activity. So what are the areas that you can do that for yourself? What are you saying about yourself to yourself? How are you viewing yourself that is something you can change? And if you have an affirmation that you enjoy doing about it, by all means, keep that up. Tell yourself that during the day. Look at yourself in the mirror when you're done brushing your teeth and tell yourself the affirmation that you want to confirm in your life. And then start to choose some activities that align to that, whether it's that you're wealthy or you're loved or you're desired or you have fantastic hair or your body looks amazing. Whatever it is, you identify what would equal that to you and start showing up for yourself to do that. And I'm all about making a plan. So if I tell myself in the morning that I am beautiful and desired, and I want to show myself that throughout the day, I make a plan of the ways that I'm going to do that. And if something happens and I don't feel beautiful or I don't feel desired, what am I going to do? What am I going to do in those moments, right? Like, how am I going to deal with that? What emotional regulation tools can I use? What type of techniques can I use? Which ways can I talk to myself to bring myself back? And a lot of mine come back to a reminder of my faith. And so if I have faith in these activities, right? Like, I believe that you can actually change your life by changing your mind. I really, really believe that. Like, I want everybody to know that I have seen it happen in my own life. It was very difficult for me to come on to very public platforms and talk about it, but I think it's important for people to know you truly can change your life. You just have to change your mind first. And it can be so much more difficult than people make it out to be. And that's okay. It's good to do hard things. The more that you do hard things, the more that you confirm to yourself that you are freaking amazing and you can do anything. So don't shy away from doing the hard things. Don't shy away from really branching out from your comfort zone, putting yourself out there and doing what you feel is right. Because when you feel like it's right, you have a gift and you truly owe the world and yourself sharing that gift. And that's not to say that everybody needs to go share everything publicly, but if you have this itching inside you that you want to start a podcast or you want to do more at work or you want to really branch out and learn more or travel more and help people or do whatever it is that you want, you should follow that. You should do that. Like, this is God's nudging to you that you have this gift and it's time to share it, and even to share it with yourself, but that you can do this. And really what it comes down to is what you're putting your faith into. So I have faith that these beliefs work, that I can actually direct my attention and my focus to the type of life that I want. And that starts to play out for me, that I can treat myself in a certain way and that the world reflects it back to me. And I've seen it happen and it's amazing. It's like one of the biggest miracles that I've ever seen come to fruition in my life. It's mind-blowing. It's still to this day, even though I've watched it happen over and over again, it still just blows my mind because it's so remarkable and it's so amazing. And the faith and the joy and the happiness that I feel knowing this is remarkable, because no matter what happens to me today, I know that it doesn't have to continue. And that's the thing that I want to talk about with your faith. You're putting faith into something all the time. I want you to think about that for a minute. Where are you placing your faith? Are you placing your faith on the fact that things never work out for you, that you are always unlucky and you can't figure out how to get things to work, and that you don't have confidence in yourself or whatever else it is? Do you have faith in this external thing that's happening to you, that it'll never change and it's just going to continue, that you'll never have the love that you're seeking, that you'll never have the type of job that you want or the career or the life that you want? Or are you having faith in the fact that you can change anything that you want to change? That you can live the type of life that you want to live? That you can do the things that you want to do? Where are you placing your faith? So today, as we go into this week, I want you to start asking yourself, where am I placing my faith? What am I doing that's aligned to this person that I want to be? I really hope that this helps you reframe the way that you're feeling and thinking throughout this week. It has been something that has shifted my life quite a bit, asking these questions. So, one of the things that I always recommend is keep being curious. How do I want to feel when I go to bed? Am I aligned with that ideal self? Am I doing something right now that's aligned with how I want to be? Where am I placing my faith? Am I placing my faith that something is never going to work out for me, that it's always going to continue to be this way? Or am I placing my faith in the fact that I have control over the way that I perceive the world and I'm able to select, even if it's hard at first, I can select my reactions to things that are happening to me. And the more that I get that type of mind discipline, the better my life will get because I'm able to actually direct my attention and my focus. So I hope you found this helpful. Definitely shoot me an email if you have any questions. It is unleashinghappiness@ceciliahendricks.com. And I will be back on Monday. Have a great week. Thank you so much again for joining me today. If you enjoyed this episode, definitely please share it out with your network. That is truly one of the best compliments that you can give me. And if you have a moment, if you could please rate and review the episode, that definitely helps me get out to more people.